Open University.
So this is Bookgirls. This is a Tumblr collage view of a Tumblr site which I subscribe to. So it pops up in my Tumblr feed. Every day I see these Bookgirls. And it interests me from all sorts of angles because these girls are reading often incongruous publications, which are quite amusing to delve into, to investigate a little bit deeper, and also my response to it, and I mentioned it the other day as something that I'm cynical about as I get older, that I don't really care that this is a fiction. But let's look at it as a fiction. Let's say that we live in an age in which our fictions come in more multifarious forms than they used to, and that some of them are algorithmic. So some of them are I don't know who made this Bookgirls Tumblr, and I don't know if it's a man or a woman, an Eastern or a Western person. It's called Bookgirls in English, but the women who appear in it are all attractive young Japanese women, so it might be Japanese. And it is obviously a very selected, filtered view of not only books and girls, but of the world. And it comes with its own ideology, its own semiology, its own preferred tropes. It's all photographic images. There's no drawings or paintings. It's all kind of glamorous images of clothed or semi-clothed literary women. But how literary are they? This is something I ask myself. What are they reading, and what are the circumstances of this blog? So let's look through it and think about it. Here are girls, often with bare feet, like this one here. She's reading a magazine. You can see that the Japanese magazine has, unlike Western magazines, it has its title on the back, what we would think of as the back. She only just qualifies for this blog because she's reading a magazine and not a book. She's in bed. There's the bar at the base of the bed is visible. We're outside the bed and she's in it. And often there is a come-hither-ish element to these photographs. They're all attractive young Asian women, and they're all, I don't know, they're not naked. It's not cheesecake, but it is bookcake. I don't know. It is there's a strange desirability built into the pictures, or perhaps not strange. Perhaps there's nothing less strange. I personally find books sexy, or rather, I find them. Reading a book is a sublimating process. You have to sublimate your immediate desires, your immediate needs, in order to get into a book. And I find this, the appeal to sex and the appeal to reading, somewhat conflicting, contradictory. This is why I never really work in libraries, because I always find that your sublimation is disturbed if there are sexy people reading around about you. You're supposed to sublimate, and it's very difficult. Here's a girl using two books for her comportment, presumably balancing them on her head. And this is, of course, in behavior academies in the 19th century, women had to carry books on their heads to walk with upright posture. And then some images of the same girl just lying in bed with the book open in front of her. She's not reading the book, she's looking at us. So really the implication here is that she wants to be interrupted. The book itself is boring, and she can think of better things to do, and they involve us. The book, we can actually see the book she's reading here. It's part of the collection Blériot, and it's called, it's by Raoul Maltravers, and it's called Le pseudonym est de Mademoiselle Merbois. Well, that's interesting because it's a French novel from the 19th century. Looks like the 1890s to me, and it is actually about a young woman, the pseudonym of this young woman. So I do believe that she might be reading that, but possibly as part of her French studies. Here's another. Is this the same person? This is the same girl, and she's got a beret on, and she's got her tootsies, her toes are kind of poking towards the camera here. And here she's reading Amy Tan's book, The Kitchen God's Wife. Amy Tan, the author of the Joy Luck Club. She's reading in English, although she's not an English speaker, so potentially she's brushing up on her English with Amy Tan. I haven't read Amy Tan, so I don't know, again, whether that's a likely book. I think this is a very musty old copy of the Certificate of Aptitude, pedagogic. She's definitely quite saucy, this girl, because she's winking. Rather than reading this very fusty and dry book, she's winking at us. So again, there is a sense that the book is almost like clothes which are worn to be cast aside. There is a sense that it's destined to be placed to the side, and that more pressing pursuits are going to be pursued. Here she is, or here is the next girl reading The Literary Journalists, The New Art of Personal Reportage, which features Joan de Dion and Tom Wolfe and other new journalists from the 1970s, 60s and 70s. This is interesting to me because it suggests that she's a critical spirit, and that somehow she would understand the context and be able to fit the context of the counterculture of the 1960s, and particularly the idea of political contention, the idea of criticality of spirit. On the other hand, my knowledge of the Japanese education system and the Asian education systems in general is that they're Confucian, and that they do not encourage criticality. They don't encourage you to question your elders or people in authority. So I'm wondering what she makes of The Literary Journalists. Perhaps I needn't wonder, because she's actually not reading it in any of the pictures. She's holding it up in front of her. She's got flower petals scattered across its pages here, and she's lying in bed in a frilly black dress. She looks as if she's dressed for the 19th century, whereas the paperback book she has is from the 1970s. Here is a girl reading The Business of Loving by Jeffrey somebody. Who is it by? It's not expanding. I think I must have another photo still expanded. No, this doesn't work really very well. Perhaps I can zoom the Business of Loving by Godfrey Smith. Now this suggests that the girl is sublimating, but the book is not. The book is actually thinking about love. Or perhaps they're both thinking about love, the girl and the book, both thinking about love. Now here's a girl in the bath, and she's reading a book called The New Girl in the Bath, by Sally Mitchell. I should look all these books up and find out what they are actually about. We can't see any of her naughty bits, as Monty Python would say. We just see that she's in the bath, and the bath water is milky and soapy. So often you get the impression these girls are in bookshops, that they actually run bookshops, which is an interesting possibility. Here's a very pretty girl who's looks a bit like Hihime Carey actually, and she's reading a paperback which I can't identify. I'm picturing this person who might be an algorithm, and wondering what this person is looking for. First of all, there are probably certain sites, probably other Tumblr blogs, which this person goes through, which are dedicated just to attractive, well-dressed and scantily dressed girls, and that this person, or this algorithm, just picks out the subset of those photographs in which a girl is posing with a book. These, I suppose you'd call these images part of the genre of gravura. In Japanese, gravure. And of course, that's a very old word which the Japanese have taken from French, 19th century French. I guess photography was called photogravure, which was a printing technique originally. And grabura is the Japanese version of it. And that is a genre of girly photography, it's not hardcore, it's extremely softcore. It's the very, very softest end of pornography, in which the girls are not even naked. They're simply glamorous. It's a glamour photography done by professional photographers. There are well-known names. They become celebrities and they publish books, these photographers. So in a way, there is also this resonance that these images of girls reading books are for books, that they will themselves become books. They will turn into publications themselves. The girls, and there is a beautiful kind of there's almost a fossil-like imagery, a poetic justice in a sense, that the girls are pressed between these pages like dried leaves and dried flowers. Their vitality turns into something inanimate and dead and the opposite of life, and yet they seem to be bursting with life. So the more sexy they are, and the more part of this wet, liquid mechanical biology that we all have, and which is, the squishy liquids that go through our bodies and keep us alive, and also assist us in reproducing ourselves sexually, are turned into something different, something that's made of dead trees. And the more they express their liquid mechanics, the more there's a certain pathos in the fact that they're turned into these inanimate things. But they're also, of course, schoolgirls. Here are some schoolgirls you can see from the red bow tie-like thing. These are women in bookshops. And here's a Western woman, so it's not exclusively Asian women. But they're in Japanese bookshops. So it's already part of this weird misunderstanding, because the Western women are reading Japanese books, but the Asian women, Japanese women, are all reading Western books. So there is a certain sense that the photographer has chosen the book in order to be incomprehensible. That there's something sexy or interesting about somebody reading a book which they don't understand, rather than one which they do understand. I know that some of the sexiest moments of my life have been when somebody doesn't quite understand what you're saying to them, and you have to repeat it while looking at them, and there's a certain kind of look which especially a Japanese woman gives when she doesn't understand something, which is a very wide-eyed and innocent look, and it's very erotic. Those are dangerous moments, let me tell you. Because they're the moments in which sublimation breaks down. Suddenly you realize you're sitting next to someone, very close next to someone, and something might break through. Some kind of non-sublimated thing might break through on both sides. Also schools. Here we are in schools, and we're looking at these girls with scholarly texts. In other words, there is an age dimension here as well, that old teachers and pedagogues are handing these books down to young people who are, tabula rasa. They are kind of just impressionable, unformed, unfilled, and the books are information which they're supposed to absorb. And they're doing it a little bit reluctantly, because this is not their culture. Their culture, inherently, this age group, their culture is probably more like pop music or popular culture, mainstream things. But here they are having to, slightly passive-aggressively, I feel, absorb this stuff which is meant to be good for them, and they're being distracted. They're obediently following the instructions from their elders and betters, but there's a certain, and here again we have to go back to Michel de Certeau. The strategy is imposing books on them, but their tactics are to be a little bit sexy and a little bit distracted, and also to distract us from our mission. Presumably we're in these same educational spaces with them, and we're supposed also to be sublimating, and yet there's that little frisson, that little moment when a different logic breaks through. Here they are with their, here's some with text. So these are from magazines, I guess. Lots of girls, it says on that text. Here's a girl in a cafe. I suppose this simulates the moment when eyes meet across the room, and you find that your gaze is not unwelcome. The girl is sitting at the these bars at the window are usually for solitary customers, people on their own. She's sitting there on her own with a book. She's gone there presumably to study, but also it's a public place, and in a public place there is always the possibility that you'll be interrupted. So she's not averse to that idea of being interrupted. Here's somebody who looks very studious in a library. She's reading a Japanese book, and she's Japanese, so that breaks my generalization, I guess, about crossing cultures. Here's something from a film, I guess. This is from a film with subtitles. What she paints, live with purity, but I know myself that I'm not looking for results only. And so she's actually, in this very significant photograph, she's actually throwing the book over her shoulder, throwing it away. Perhaps she doesn't like what she's read, or perhaps she's just fed up with it. And she's appears to be in a room. This looks like that girl band Baby Metal to me, or one of these girl bands anyway. And I guess the books are just a prop in that case. I mean, of course, the books are just a prop in all these cases, but here's somebody sitting on a park bench and she's reading the book. There's often a sort of autumnal theme in these. And there's Ao Yu, who's one of my favorite models, actresses, personalities, she often appears now, as she's getting a little older, she must be in her 30s by now, she often models in comfortable surroundings which are redolent of Japanese internal tourism. So she's often in these slightly older age magazines which are about, let's go on a nice trip to a spa, this kind of thing, or let's relax. Hanako, this kind of magazine, let's relax in a pleasant countryside place and de-stress. So she's often associated with this kind of mid-century modern furniture you see here, and reading books as a kind of sublimated and de-stressed recreation. She's most famous for her role as Hagumi, the art student in Honey and Clover. Maybe that's not what she's now most famous, I guess, just for being famous. There's often this kind of, I guess there's a reference to Funny Face, the librarian played by Audrey Hepburn, who of course is huge still in Japan. She's very much a model of what a woman should be. And in Funny Face, of course, she's meant to be a dowdy librarian, rather tweedy. Here's a girl wearing a tweed skirt. It's always this sort of tweedy, the idea of finding the wicked demon, the sexual being inside a tweedy woman is very important for this kind of fantasy. And I think often these are kind of ersatz Audrey Hepburns in, and it speaks very much to the Japanese conception of a female sexuality, that they really like a non-threatening, of course, because everything in Asian cultures tends to the non-threatening. That's the idealist, the cute, the appealing, the childlike. And yet there is, of course, there's an inner demon inside even or especially a non-threatening person. And that little moment when the demon pokes its little horns out is a very important moment. So I think in a lot of these photographs, the photographer is trying to capture that moment of the revelation of the little tiny horns. It's not a frightening demon, it's a small, manageable demon who simply suggests that some other activity is just around the corner, and that we're not, that butter actually would melt in our mouths.
It's moving, it is, but we couldn't have done better if we designed it ourselves.
Mary looks smarter already. I hope they've done enough. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see you up there. Are you all right?
Yes, thank you. Can I help you?
All right, girls, let's get
Would you like a
started.
book?
Marion, dear, over here. Right over here. Good.
May I help you?
Thank you very much. I think we have everything we need.
Would you please tell me what all this is about?
We'll only be a minute. We're just going to take a few pictures.
Pictures? What sort of pictures?
Are you the owner?
No, Dr. Post is the owner. I work here and I'm in charge in her absence. I'm going to stop to look at... Can you help me?
How do you do? I'm Dick Avery.
What about these pictures?
Well, we're using the shop as a background for some fashion pictures for Quality magazine.
I'm sorry, but I can't let you do this. Dr. Post would never approve. He doesn't approve of fashion magazines. It's shishi and an unrealistic approach to self-impressions as well as economics.
We're going to have trouble. She's a thinker. She's also a talker.
I must ask you to leave. You have no right...
We throw ourselves into mercy. Haven't poor, helpless people like us a right to make a living?
I've asked you to leave. It is my right. The rights of the individual are not respected by the group itself cannot exist for long.
What does that mean?
Something like do unto others as you would have others do unto you.
We're only going to do unto you for a moment. If you have my word, it's no more than we would do unto ourselves. Girls, I want all these books rearranged. They look too much alike. They're too bad. Come on, mix them up. Two.
No, don't do that. You mustn't mix them up. All the books on the shelf pertain to empiricism, and of the shelf materialism, and the shelf psychophysical parallelism. Oh, don't put them back. Oh, please talk to her. It'll take me hours.
One never talks to Maggie Prescott. One only listens.
I think we ought to use her in the shop. Miss, will you come down here, please?
Me?
Don't do that. You're selling the book to that girl.
Her?
It's very simple. Just pretend that Marion can read.
Say, listen.
All right, Marion, let's go.
But this has been absolute violation of all my principles. It would be hypocrisy for me to lend myself to this sort of idealism.
Oh, shush. Now tell Marion about the book so that we can get out of here.